Hey everybody, welcome to Watching in the Dark. I'm your host, Dave Garrett, and I am joined by...
I'm Jordan.
Hey, I'm Ben.
And I'm Phil.
You guys recognize us probably from a few of our battle reports and live streams that we've done. I guess just live streams. Our shorts. We're just doing a podcast, kind of introduce ourselves, say why we started the channel, how we got into the hobby, and all of that fun stuff. So I'll go first about how I got introduced to the hobby. I was at a game store called Bookery Fantasy when I was a 13-year-old kid trying to buy some Magic cards and saw a Baneblade diagram sheet that was basically just a bunch of different Baneblade variants. And I'm like, what is that? With a bunch of Space Marine 40k models. It was a Saturday, so I walked down to the basement. There was a bunch of people just playing 40k. And that's basically, story ends there. I just met a group of people. They built me like a custom miniature out of their bits, and I started playing from there. Space Marines, obviously. But yeah, that's how I started my journey into 40k, at least. What about you, Jordan?
Do you have a Baneblade?
I do not have a Baneblade. I used to. I used to have the plasma variant that is discontinued, and I regret selling it so much now. Biggest regret.
Probably rare.
Life. It's super rare now. I had a giant plasma gun turret. It was super sick.
Yeah.
Storm something, maybe, Bane something, Hammer something.
I think it's called a Storm Sword. Is what it was called.
I don't know.
It was a hybrid of the two. It was like a Bane. It was in between the Bane Sword and the plasma is like Storm. I don't remember. But Jordan, what about you? How did you get started into 40k?
Yeah, so I was in college at the time, so very broke. The absolute best time to start an expensive hobby. And my buddy Nate, he's been on the channel with his Black Templar once, his wife was a coworker of mine, and I met him through that connection. And they knew that I was into like really nerdy stuff like games and whatnot. And like, oh, you should try this game. We're super into Warhammer. So they taught me how to play, and I hated the game. I was like, this is dumb, but these models are cool. So I just started kind of buying the models. And over time, I got into the rules side of it too. I was like, okay, I see like how all these complex things interact with each other. It kind of makes sense. This was back in like 5th and 6th edition.
Oh, okay. That was about the same time I started, actually.
Yeah.
End of 5th, start of 6th.
5th was fine from what I hear. I didn't play 5th very much. I played like maybe 2 or 3 games tops of 5th. 6 was rough though. There's a lot of rules bloat for those of you who don't remember. I think the rule book was like 100 pages long compared to like the 20 pages it is today.
Are you telling me aquatic should not be a rule anymore for your aquatic vehicles?
Aquatic. Oh yeah, that was the thing for chimeras. They could drive through water in case anybody ever had a waterboard.
Yeah, they could drive through water. Yeah, that's so relevant.
I've been playing off and on since then. I play a bunch of armies. I've had a bunch of armies. Right now I mostly do like Space Marines, Eldar, Chaos Marines, and Demons. I think that's it right now. I guess Harlequins. I play them too. But yeah, I've been hooked on ever since. Play a bunch, and then started hanging out with you guys more. And then Garrett mentioned he wanted to start a channel and wanted to start creating content. I'm like, yeah, count me in. That sounds fun.
It just took a year to get off the ground from the initial video.
But yeah, you did that intro video like a year ago, and then nothing until what was it?
Yeah.
June?
Yeah, about then, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Ben? How did you get started into the hobby?
That was a little while before you guys. I was, I think, 8 or 9. It was back in 2nd edition. My brother and I went into the game store with my dad, the Soldier, or the Tin Soldier, I think it was then, in Centerville. And we bought the box set. And my brother took the Orcs, and I took the Marines, painted them up red, bought Dante when I think he was like $4 in a blister pack.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was wonderful back then. Yeah, you talk about a good time to get in when your parents buy you things, right? When you're only 8.
did they so did you guys like have to push your car like the Flintstones to get it to move? Like how was that when
the dinosaur just took
right.
It wasn't too bad.
You sat beside Jesus in the 2nd grade. Yeah.
There might have been even cell phones, I don't know, but it was cool. So we went in, and it was me versus my brother, but I was too young to understand anything, so my dad was always helping us. And from that point, let's say for a year or two, we'd build and paint. My dad actually bought an old Tyranids army and would play with us. So, it was always great when Dad was there. When he wasn't, it was just arguments between me and my brother. So then I take a big old break until fifth, and then, I maybe get 5 games in the whole edition when I'm in college. Still added to my Blood Angels army there. And then I bought an Elder army, and then I stopped playing again as things happen. So I missed all of sixth, but then I got back in seventh. And it was wonderful. I think my first 2 games in seventh, I did all this reading online, was against White Scars, and then against it was a tournament for my second or third game.
Wow.
And I went up against the White Scars game was for fun. I got totally blown away because I didn't know they could scout move, obliterated everything. Then my next game was Kodiaz, and it was at a tournament. So I was like, oh, I'll bring some. I'll probably get destroyed. And I remember I had a bunch of drop pods with Blood Angels, dropped them all right around Kodiaz and a Dev Centurion squad, and just watched my army melt. And it was at that moment that I was like, well, this is the game for me. And, so I've been playing ever since kind of seventh there and having fun. So,
What about you, Phil? How'd you get introduced to the game?
My first introduction to the universe, the 40K universe, I think it was 2018. My D&D group wanted to try out Dark Heresy, and I knew nothing about the setting.
Great game.
It is a good game.
Yeah, so I played that, and I had no idea. I was basically taking Star Wars tropes to it, and why is everyone trying to kill me? I don't understand. I think I played an Adeptus Arbite. I think that's how you say it, right? The cops.
Arbite is.
So then that started me reading about the universe a little bit, and then much later than you guys in 2020. As I had a month left in the military, and one of my coworkers was like, "Hey, me and another coworker are gonna try this game out, Warhammer 40K. Have you ever heard of it?" And between me playing that RPG, and then I had coworkers in a different office that played it. It's like, yeah, isn't that super expensive? You had to use tape measures or whatever to play it, and they're like, yeah. And I was like, I'll give it a shot. And I went to the same store that you did as a kid, Garrett. I went to Bookery, and I bought a bag of used Space Marines, and I think it was a 5-man squad of intercessors. And I went up to the guy that worked there, and I was like, "Is this enough to play the game?" And he was like, "What? Can I play Warhammer with this?" He's like, "Kind of." It's like, cool. So then I went to my buddy's house, and he lent me his entire Space Marine army.
And Phil still knows nothing of Space Marines.
I have played 2 games with them, and it was my first game ever. And then I bought Space Marines later. It was actually against Ben. But yeah, so then I loved it, and the people that I played with also had no clue what we were doing, so it took us 6 hours, and it was with Red Solo Cup terrain. Everything was unpainted. I loved it, and I got way more into it than they did. And I went and I loved the aesthetic of Sisters, and they had just come out in plastic at that point, so they were brand new. So they were a nightmare to paint as my first thing painting, but yeah, now 2 years later, I'm all in. Yeah, and I still have my Sisters on my main army. I have Tau, but I'm trying to get rid of them. I have Demons, and I'm building up Necrons right now.
Gotcha.
When Sisters came out, those were cool models. I mean, that's right around the time that GW just started really knocking out of the park.
Yeah, I think that's what got me. I like the aesthetic anyway because I like their lore when it was explained to me. But putting I think it was the Sisters Exorcist next to first generation Space Marines, I was like, okay, this is not even comparable with how cool.
It's a blowout.
Yeah.
I would look at all those jetpacks with the scrolls hanging off the Sisters that fly, and I was like, well, that's so cool. And then I'd look back at Dante, just this little dude, right? Just normal old jetpack guy. Yeah, they're cool models.
Well, we covered a little bit. Why don't we go through what armies we have? I'm going to keep mine short because I have a lot of armies, and I honestly don't know what all I would consider an army yet. I've got Grey Knights, Admech, Tau, Death Guard, Sisters, and Vostroyan Firstborns. And I believe those are the main armies I play. I have Black Templars and stuff, but it's just a small force. It's painted and stuff, but it's just a 2K list. And newest venture was, like I said, Sisters. I just got a 2K list built for that. Probably see that on the channel soon. I know you guys all love seeing Sisters for the 80th time on our channel.
so many sisters games.
We have
which
had
is
a lot of
fine.
sister game. We have a lot of sisters
Like-
players now.
They're arguably one of the best, if not the best, factions in the meta right now. So, I mean, nothing else. It's good for people to be able to see what they can do and how the sisters play against different factions.
True.
So, I might be a little bothered by how often a faction appears if it was something silly like, hey, this is our 80th, I don't know, 8th edition Codex Demons game.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like we've all seen that codex. There's nothing really more to glean from it. It's a rough one. Or Guard are the same way right now, but sisters are something you'll run into competitively a lot. I mean, you know what?
Hey, I like Guard though. Lately, they just keep getting more and more cool rules. So I mean,
It's true.
That's true.
They've had buffs.
But yeah, they're gonna be by the codex because they're gonna have 1,000 extra rules on there.
Okay, Ben. What armies do you play?
Me, Skip, and Jordan. Well, I
Oh, I think Jordan mentioned his earlier. Didn't he?
Okay.
I think he went through all of
In
them.
line.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Jordan, you can go over yours. Sorry. My
I
bad.
already told you guys. I said I cut in line. I already told everybody what my armies
I don't
were.
think you mentioned Harlequins, but you do own Harlequins. Oh, did he? Okay, I missed
Yeah.
it then. Okay, Ben, on to you then.
Oh, Blood Angels and Tyranids. So I've got the classic Leviathan versus Blood Angels going on. I do have some Hawk Shroud Imperial Knights. Painted them because that's the closest thing to Veil there. Not well, but they're painted. And then I've got 1,000 Suns army that's printed, somewhat legit. And then I've got a full Gene Stealer Cult army. So I love the Gene Stealer Cult. I love the Nids. The lore of those two factions is just awesome. The way they infiltrate planets. So that's where my real attention is. I'd say right now. Not only because Tyranids are great.
One of my first games against his GSC was with like one of the first times I played Tau. I got absolutely rolled by these GSC, and then he goes on the same week. I finish. It's one of my first times finishing 3-0 at one of our local RTTs. He also finishes 3-0, but he has like 20 more points than me. And I was so hard. I was like, no.
It was rough. Everyone was. It was the last game of the tournament. Like we were the last ones playing. I think it
Yeah.
was me and Nate in the last game, and like everybody was watching to see how many points I was. It was.
Oh yeah, I was
glad I
counting.
won
I'm
the
like,
GSC.
I was the game before that against your Gene Stealers.
You know the best thing about Gene Stealer Cult is most people don't know what just how fast
Right.
they are, just how strong they are. So I squeaked out a win. No one else played it in our area, and I'm like, well, you know what? Let's retire that. People are gonna figure it out real quick. So there's my win. I'm done with it. So no, I still
They're an
play.
army kind of like Eldar and Sisters in the regard that they're fragile, they hit hard, and they have a bajillion tricks. And if you
Yeah.
don't play the army, you probably don't know what all the tricks are. So,
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't play Gene Stealers. I think you might be the only regular Gene Stealer cult player in our area, Ben. Like, we used to have another guy who'd show up a lot, but I haven't seen him in a while.
Will
Basically, if
actually
we don't fight Ben, then we don't get experience fighting Gene Stealer cults.
Will
in our
played them
local
for a
meta.
long time, but just recently sold them actually. AG. Yep.
Nope.
By the
Oh,
way,
yeah,
if you ever
that's
want a
what-
sick paid army for real low money, check out William Agee on Instagram. I believe is what he's on now. But he great price to performance ratio there. And I think we're on to Phil now, right?
Yeah, I briefly went through it, but I started with Sisters, and then I immediately was drawn to Tau, but I didn't want. I saw all of the stigma that they had, so I was like, I'll try Orcs because my game is Warcraft. Growing up, that was everything, and I played Horde. I played Orcs. So I bought enough to do a 2,000 point army. I didn't paint them yet. I played one game. This is on their 8th edition codex. And I tried to do the 15 Ludas build with the Bad Moons. And I rolled 125 dice. And I wounded with 3. And I was like, nope, it's not for me.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
hitting on 6s and 5s and wounding on, it's just real depressing. So then I just said, screw it. And I'm just going to get what I wanted. And I sold them. I bought Tau. And then my third army was Admech. Painted them all myself, but they were too similar in playstyle to Tau. And between the two, I liked Tau more, so I sold my Admech. At some point, I picked up Harlequins. Ended up trading them for Space Marines, which I did as Templars. Did not like them at all because they just felt like Sisters, but less less tricks, and they're more elite. So I sold them, and now I have demons, which I think I'm going to stick with for sure because I really like the models. I like the monster mash list that they can do. So that's
Phil
where I'm
might
at.
not have more armies than you, but he's had more.
I've gone through a bunch. I
think
apparently have never heard of renting and trying.
I think the only arms I've never owned are Drukari. I don't know what else. I own Chaos Knights now, and I own Sisters now.
Do you have Craft Worlds?
Oh, I've never owned Tyranids. I have owned I've owned every army in the game at one point, at least 2K of, other than Tyranids, Drukari, and I feel like there's one more, but I'm probably forgetting it. But I've owned Knights 2K list at least. I own
Stealer
Chaos
Cult?
Knights right now. What?
Gene Stealer cults?
I've owned GSC. Brief time, but
They
very
came in
brief,
the
yeah.
Deathwatch box, right? Yeah, so I feel like a lot of people, if they're in one of those big box sets, I think that helps.
I played Deathwatch.
Yeah.
I played Grey Knights multiple times. I played when Cybolt was amazing. They were just strength 5.
Oh,
That was sick. They were also more AP, but AP worked differently then. You just ignored saves if you were that AP or higher. But that's all in the past. But yeah, is there anything currently we're all like super interested in? Are we happy with are we interested to see how Nephilim evolves anyway? Like example, I'm super excited to see if there will be any changes to the secondaries and stuff in the next data slate, or if we will get like a pre-data slate to change how some of the secondaries work, or get some more balancing for Nephilim, because I think a few things are not where I would like them for some armies, and I think they need to be a touch more in line. I hate to say it, Genestealer Cult, even with their terrible secondaries, are still one of the top performing armies in the meta. Just is.
You mean Nids?
Bolts?
Yeah, Nids. Yeah, Nids,
Nids
are.
are.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Oh,
I see
Nids.
you talking
Oh,
about
what did I
Nids.
say?
You said Gene Stealer cults.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm thinking Genestealer. We've been talking about them so much.
Like,
I
what
meant
meta are
Tyranids.
you looking at?
Tyranids. Sorry, they're still at like a high 50%
Yeah.
win rate, low 60, which is still a cut above almost everybody else. They're not winning GTs, but they're winning majority of their matches.
Well, that's a whole conversation. We've talked about it. There's these armies that are just raw power, Tyranids. And then there's armies that are just great secondaries.
Sisters.
So playing these Nephilim games, there's almost this dichotomy. And right now it seems like secondaries are winning tournaments.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like what's winning the actual GT seems like very secondary dependent. Just because
Necrons have been killing it with theirs.
Yeah. So overall, I will say they have been winning on like there can be multiple 5-0s at a tournament if you're a 5-round GT. You can have like 2 undefeated players, maybe 3 to 4 in like theoretical universe that they all just don't play each other to get some weird pair downs and stuff. And it's just the average of points is so high for Sisters. Like they're averaging like 80. I want to say like 85 is I think what it was. Something really high because the average is like what an average game is. They do like medium on kind of how I look at it is they do like 8 primary and then 6 tertiary, which is like 38 if I'm not mistaken. Set a primary, then they get 10 painted, 48, and then you get what is it? You get 36 basically secondary. So you're at like 80. You're at like 86 minimum points if you do like the bare minimum on everything. Like this is like average because you can score like 15s and stuff on these secondaries too, but their just average is just so high that puts them in such a high position that some opponents go 5-0 with like 40 points in one of their games, or that's a bit ambitious, 70 points in their games, where the lowest the Sisters player scored that whole event was like an 80.
Yeah, they're not winning a ton of GTs, but they're in like most of the top 8s.
Yeah,
Just on points.
yeah, their points are just so high comparatively to everybody else. So if they're going 4-1, that's enough to put them into like 3rd place because
Yeah,
they're just
exactly.
because like they lost that game. That one loss is still probably at minimum like a 70-point score on like absolute terrible secondaries happening in that
Is
game.
there a site that shows like the average points scored per game?
You can check
Yeah,
out Goonhammer. Goonhammer is I believe you can go through Goonhammer's stats page and you can look at the exact points of the last like so many tournaments. So it's weird. You have to like pick what dates and stuff. When I was looking at it at that time, it was like 86 points. I think it was what an average Sister like games were, and that's including like a terrible like a blowout loss, like a 0 primary on like a player that's just like new to the game having fun, and like people just like grinding games and the average is just so high. Because an 86 average is insane. Like, realistically.
Well, Jordan, you play Harlequins. I just pulled up the site because I was super curious, and it says last week's GT results. Harlequins with the highest win percentage and first loss almost third round. What category do they fall in? Good secondaries, just strong units?
I think so. Yeah, Harlequins won 1 or 2.
Real fast, I'm just gonna say it. We're
recently.
recording this August 3rd. For the time frame of when this is happening, in case you come back and watch this in the future. This is just where we're at in the meta right now. Nothing crazy is going on at the moment. We have WTC coming up soon, so keep all of this in mind for what our opinions probably will change, or stats will definitely change after WTC.
So I'm very much of the mindset that it's almost irrelevant what I wish Games Workshop would do to make the game better, because my name is not James Workshop. I'm not the guy who making those decisions. I spend a lot more time thinking about what can I do with the current meta, with my current collection. I pick my armies based on mainly things that I enjoy painting, and then once I've got my army, then I just figure out how to win tournaments with those armies. Harlequins, though, yes, they're very good. Out of the armies I play, they might be the strongest, I think. I think what makes them good is a number of things. They're very fast, so it's really easy for them to get to objectives, to get the primaries, to get the action-based secondaries or the board control secondaries. They're a little squishy. If you can keep them balled up around a Shadow Seer, then they get pretty hard to kill, but then you're tethered to one character, which is not a position you want to be in. You have that choice. You can either ball up and be durable, or you can spread out and get all your objectives. So you have a lot of flexibility. It's very much a thinking man's army, I think. They hit hard. If you're light, then you're good at shooting in addition to melee, but you're slightly worse in melee than the Dark and the Twilight sub-factions. So you can do a lot of different things. Their secondaries are not amazing. They're not an easy 45 by any means, but you have some really good routes you can take. I tend to gravitate towards Psychic Interrogation. That's a really I take 2 Shadow Seers, so
That's
it's a really easy.
You take 2 Shadow Seers, I believe.
Yeah, which most people don't do, but I've learned. I've started doing that as insurance, because the first one dies because people are like, oh wow, that guy's giving out defensive auras and psychic powers. I got to kill him first. Well, now you have another one you have to deal with if you kill my first one, and they are a pain to kill. So if you bring 2, it's a pretty easy, I'd say 12 points per game. If you only bring 1, it's an easy 9 maybe, but you can get to 15 if you're doing well in the game and you roll well with your psychic powers and your opponent doesn't have a way to shut you down. That's kind of my go-to. If I see something good at denying on this side of the board, then I might not take it.
Nids. Sorry.
Yeah, Nids are pretty good at shutting me down. They make it harder for you to cast, and they have a lot of denies. I think that another good secondary take is Take Your Places, which, for those of you who don't play Harlequins, it's one where you put extra objectives on the board, and at the end of the turn, if you hold some of them, you get points. And it's if you're doing the board control game, then you can easily get it to 15. If you try and ball up around your Shadow Seer, then it's a hard one to get. You can probably get 10 points out of it if you're doing the Shadow Seer Death Ball strategy.
I'm going to bring this up
What?
now. I've been waiting to announce this. We are going to have Richard Siegler on our podcast in the next few weeks.
Yay.
Probably you guys won't see it for another month or so, because we'll probably do more editing and stuff on it. I believe it was Siegler that said Take Their Places is almost unplayable if your opponent knows how to play around it. So I'm super interested to have this conversation, because I'm gonna phrase this question to you and Siegler during the pod, because I want to hear his perspective on it. Because I was like, that's so crazy, because you take it all the time, and people just get blown out by it. It seems like it's like a solid 10. So I'm interested to see how much play he has into it.
I will say,
on the ranking page, it's number 10. So I pulled up the Goonhammer stats here, and it says number 10 as far as the highest points scored on average in Warzone Nephilim is Take Your Places.
Wow,
That's
that
number
was
one.
really good.
It's averaging just 10.5 points.
okay, I believe that.
What's number 1?
Number 1, well, the actual number 1 is to the last. Somebody messed up. Treasure of Aeons. So Necromancy.
Yep.
I quit. You can't stop that.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
good.
Well, That's the one. It's where your obsec you finish at the end of your turn, right? And you
Yeah.
get
Yeah,
4
which
points.
their whole thing's OBSEC.
And everyone's obsec. Yeah.
They're double
I mean,
OPSEC on some of them.
Yep,
That's what
always
killed me
good.
when I fought them. I just could not peel them off.
Counts as 2.
Well, just
Yeah, it's a
like they
little
have so many hard to remove models and they're all OPSEC, whereas like I feel like most lists are in the same boat as I am. I have 3 troops that are OPSEC that are 5-mans. Like I'm not stealing those.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
Death
only
Guard
chosen
Death Guard go
7%.
off the Oh, sorry. Death Guard go off the same idea as that we just have a lot of OBSEC and we're just really tough to remove. Fight last Terminators off the midpoint. Good luck.
Well, don't worry, Phil. Right up there is Defend the Shrine. Just,
Yeah, that's
Good one.
11 and a half. So very similar average points. The difference is 9 out of 10 times the sisters are taking Defend the Shrine. Oddly, only 7 out of 10 times Necrons take Treasure of Aeons.
Okay. I want this to change. This is my demands. Like, if I can change one thing in the game, it's how that freaking works. You said Defend the Shrine or is it Sacred Ground?
Defend the Shrine.
Defend the
Okay,
shrine.
Defend the Shrine's fine. Sacred Ground, starting the action with Celestine, being like character blocked, then like dying in the fight phase, resurrecting, and then completing the action is dumb. Dumb. That does
I
not
mean-
fundamentally feel like how it should work. I know that's how it does work, but it feels wrong.
Technically, the way it should work, you could leave the objective and still get it.
Yeah, but Celestine
People were
can
doing
literally die and like uninteractable, and like you bodyguard her
I
with
don't
like your
think-
army. She gets meleeed, dies, resurrects, still completes the action.
So technically, the problem with that is like, even that scores you potentially 5 points, which is great, but you're still like losing one of like her only shtick, which is she's 200 points, she dies and comes back. I feel like that's a big sacrifice if they do die, because like I feel like most times I take the secondary,
Secure
not
the
shrine.
Oh,
What is it?
Sacred Ground, secure the
Sacred Grounds. Yeah, Sacred Grounds. Whenever I'm taking Sacred Grounds, it's not like Celestine that's the problem. I think the problem is that you can do more than one at a time.
Yeah,
Because I'll just start all 3, and like you can't kill all 3.
yeah.
That's the problem. More than I agree that it's silly, but I don't think it's a huge problem.
Well, just
It's not.
imagine-
I just think Celestine's a bad model, and it's encouraging people to take her.
Imagine
glad to
if
have a
the
reason to take her.
knockdown data was to place everything at the same time. I mean, so many
Yeah.
armies, if you could do it all in one turn, would just be like, all right, turn 1, I'm going to drop it down,
Yeah,
pop all these Nachman datas and be done with it.
it's kind of
But
like why
I don't
Banners
do
is so
every
good
turn.
right now.
Yeah, it's big
Yep.
for banners. I've been taking that almost every game. Banners anyway. It's been super good.
Yeah, no, it's very high scoring. Yeah, especially if you're just like having OBSEC on your home field, it's really hard for a lot of armies to peel those backfield units now with indirect nerfs and stuff. Which thank God, honest, like, yeah, nobody's upset about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, what other things you guys think you would like to see change? That's really my one thing. It's very niche and very minor.
think if they just here's the problem. It's like Ben said, it's very much a game of like who has good units versus who has good secondaries. If you nerf Necron and Sisters and who else has good ones? I think Grey Knights still have good ones, right? Or did they get
Yeah,
nerfed?
no, they're good. Nope, it's still good.
Without those secondaries, they're not great.
I will.
Whereas, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. I was gonna say one last thing. Silent King does not need core. That's still a
yeah.
change. Yeah, that's a bad
That's
one.
definitely just a sweeping change, but
A lot
I
of
think
people agree. Yeah.
if you go back to one faction secondary, we'd be sitting pretty. Because like, let
Yes.
Sisters and Necrons have their one broken. Okay, cool. Like I'm gonna max defend the shrine, but you can stop me on banners and whatever else. Yeah, I think that's a good fix.
I think the hardest
Yeah.
part of the game to
100%.
balance now is because of the second. I think the game is so
Yeah.
much like harder to balance with all of the secondaries in mind and point cost now. Because before it was like, oh, we have to like every faction gets to pick one good secondary. They could have 3. Like your good one doesn't work against this army, so you have 2. You pick one of those, and like, oh, you do good. You still have to be like. It also affects list building less now. Because now that people can just, like, Sisters can just take wherever they want, they don't even have to care about what their enemy brings for the most part. They can just, like, take
Yeah.
the same 3 every time. Where
There's no matchup where I'm not taking Defend the Shrine, and Leap of Faith every single game, no matter what you bring.
Yeah,
Grounds is
exactly.
debatable, but
Yeah, I bring 2 units of 6 for R&D, but yeah.
Well, if you look at the stats, right? The never like if you look at balance wise, you could argue that the game's never been more balanced since they've done this, right? Because so many factions are winning.
You're right.
Yeah.
So, Garrett, do you think that it is like maybe it's not balanced and people just haven't figured it out yet?
Okay, so we are I will say, like we said, we were very early into Nephilim, and a lot has changed in the game. We have Armor Contempt, Indirect got nerfed, things like that. But this all happened at once, and I do think the meta's not fully figured out still to this point. I will say, yeah, there's a lot we have figured out since the Armor Contempt changes. A lot has changed in the metagame, for sure. DIDs came out, everything's changed a ton. I don't think it's solved yet, but I think it's close. But I still think that there is a lot of the stats are close. They are very well balanced, but I think that also could have been more due to the indirect nerfs for some armies, like Tau and such. Changes to Tau, errata, stuff like that. We were at a really imbalanced point with Tau at peak power, Nids at peak power, before Armor Contempt, before they got a ton of erratas to wipe them out and stuff. And then we were still looking at a good meta, just Tau and Tyranids and Eldar all needed to hit. And now that we've hit those 3, everything seems to be great as well. We've just had a bunch of wild changes, and now everything before that was pretty great. We just had 3 big problems. But now they're all fixed. They've just been, or for the most part, fixed. Eldar and Tower, I believe. Tau is at a 52. I think Eldar is at I think they're 51, maybe 49, depending on the week. Maybe higher if it's just GTs and stuff. I normally look at it a 1 month to 2, or since Nephilim came out to now. I think it's great. I think the game's in a great spot though. Overall, I honestly, this is a very healthy metagame. There's a few times it feels pretty bad. Necrons kind of feel bad, and Nids still kind of feel bad, but I think that just needs to be addressed with some changes. I also think Nids need to lose some of their errata nerfs and get just some bigger point nerfs.
Don't say that.
Make their thing more impactful. It would make the Maleceptor, I don't think the Maleceptor is playable in its current form. I don't think with the erratas and the point hikes that it's playable in its current form.
And that's what's funny. I think it is playable.
Sorry, playable is not the wrong. Playable is not the wrong. Optimal.
I'm not
Sorry.
saying it's going to be in any of my lists because that is a lot of points.
Yes.
But when you're looking at these monsters and Exocrine's 200 now, maybe you're like, okay, 20 more points.
So yeah, here
you look at Necrons.
This is my other thing with Nids. They are the top stuff is so good, but there's stuff right under it that's just the Ravener spam. You rarely see it, but that list is crazy, absolutely wild. But it's so good. There's so many good things in that codex. I think Nids are really the only problem child I can see at the moment. Necrons are getting up there, but I think one FAQ kind of fixes a little bit of their oppressiveness. I don't think they need trust me, I really don't think Necrons need to change that much. Silent King losing core and maybe a slight tweak to their secondaries, because they do have just strictly better secondaries than Drukhari. They literally have the same secondary. Herd the Prey and what's it called? Purge the Vermin. Are the same secondary, except if you have more units in your opponent's deployments, anyone that you didn't start in, you get 2 points instead of 1, which is just strictly better than Herd the Prey, and they're doing so much better, I think, just on the secondary game, because they just have a better secondary. I don't know what the exact statistics are, but I'm very confident that Necrons are doing much better than Drukhari at the moment, and it might be linked to them having very good secondaries.
Yeah, the Necrons and Sisters.
Yeah. Sisters, I don't think Sisters need to change much.
All their secondaries.
I think Sister secondaries need to be changed in a way that they only get one, maybe get I don't even know how to, maybe capped per turn. Sisters only get 2 for the Miracle Dice one. You'd only ever get 2, 1 for each player turn or something like that.
I don't think it caps at 12.
But it's so consistent. That's the problem. Consistent secondaries make it. Think about it. If you show up to a game against Sisters and you're unpainted, you cannot win, basically. You are at such a deficit because of how consistent they are.
So I think defend the shrine, even though it's the highest scoring, I think is fine because you can counter it. Like,
Yes.
You
Yes,
can't really
yes, yes.
stop Leap of Faith, but it's 12, and you make me waste Miracle Dice. So it's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I don't think it's broken. Defend the shrine, you can bleed them points, which a lot of people don't know. I'm like, you can make me drop 3 points if you take it at the end. Like, if you, not say like a skilled player, but like
Yeah.
if you know just how sisters work, you know you have to bum rush that shrine.
Yeah, no, this is a great example.
You can't really counter Sacred Grounds if they're starting them all at once. It's just no one's that killy.
No, we can talk about this. Arch City, you were like coaching me on how to fight sisters.
Oh, yeah.
I was reading my book because my opponent was a little bit late getting back from lunch, and we were just like, I just need to hold their objective at the end of the game. I need to, I have a ton, I'm playing Death Guard with tons of OBSEC, so I just need to hold more objectives than them and basically pound them into the ground on primary. And just like, I have good secondary, so I'll just like try to keep it close on secondaries, but crush them on primary. And that's ended up what I ended up doing, and it won me the game.
My last opponent at Arch was another Sisters player, and just a little fun fact, I guess I didn't even know until we did it for the mirror. He picked his shrine, and I picked the same objective as my shrine. So basically, we fought over that objective the entire game, and if you dedicate more to it, you win. It's just fun counter. Just it's the mission where it's the secondaries in like a line diagonally, all in the center. So it's easy to, like, if you're the other player and the sister player have to declare their shrine before you deploy, just play up there.
Yeah.
Sacred Grounds for sure though needs to get nerfed.
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
5 points per is a little much. It should be 4.
That, you know what? I think if they do it 4, they might need to buff the home field one to being 2. So it's like 2, 4, 4. So it's an average 10. And then
It's
it's
also
a
very
14
map
if you do.
dependent.
Yeah, then you do like you get like 14 instead of 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I want-
12, whatever they want.
Biggest change the game needs: Fallen Angel supplement.
Oh my god.
That's what they need. It'd make the game so much better. I play
Didn't you
Fallen
get it?
Angels,
Yeah.
and it's a real bummer opening up my codex. Like, okay,
We
they're
get
not in
Cypher.
here. That's fine. I didn't expect that. Where's the Build-A-Bear rules? Oh no, they don't exist. There's a
Wait,
it
you know,
says
I didn't realize that in CSM they don't have any custom chapters.
no custom chapters. You
That
get
makes
like
sense.
they say that there's
I
a
didn't
paragraph
know
in there that says if your chapter is not in this codex, then just pick one of the other chapters and use their rules instead.
That's interesting. That's very
Because they
That's
don't have
why-
successors, right? It makes sense.
Well,
Well, there's
in
warband.
lore-
There's still warbands and stuff.
and you
That's
have
true.
renegades, like successor.
Red Corsairs are a
successor
great
chapter
example.
Space Marine. Yeah, well, they get their own rules.
Well, yeah, but they're a successor chapter of Space Marines that fell to Chaos, so they are a
Yeah.
successor chapter that have core rules. They're not a first founding chapter. They're not a legion. They are
Either play
a chapter.
one of the legions, or you play Creations of Bile or Red Corsairs.
Yeah,
That's all you can do in that codex.
That's
which is
interesting.
whatever. That's fine.
I wonder if that's a
Let's be
sweeping
honest
change
here.
that might happen in the game if they just introduce more interesting sub factions. Because you do have a lot of sub factions. In fairness, I think Chaos has one of the most sub factions in one book, if I'm not mistaken. They're close. I think they literally have the second most compared to Space Marines. Overall of sub
Absolutely.
factions, Tau only have like 6, and I think you guys have like 12 or 9.
more than Eldar.
Well, you have
More
minimum
than-
you have minimum 8 for the Primarchs, for all the Primarchs, and then you have 2 more. So you have 10 total things to pull from.
They have 6 legions in that codex because
Oh.
World Eaters,
World Eaters, Death
World
Guard.
Eaters, Death Guard, and Thousand Sons are not in the codex.
Okay, that's right. So they should have 7 then, because you have,
have-
Bile and what's it called? There should be more than that.
Corsairs. So it's 8 total. It's 8 total
Yeah, it should be 8
sub-factions
total.
in the
Yeah,
codex.
I still think that's way more than most people get for sub
I
factions.
think, yeah, it's more than Eldar because Eldar only get like 5
than Tau.
plus Harlequins,
I think it's just Space
X.
Marines that outnumber them for sure.
maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I think there's
we
7 NIDs, so there's a good bit of NIDs too, really. So.
that's fair. There are different hive fleets, but they also have custom hive fleets, right?
Never see a couple of them. Yeah, they do custom hive fleets.
Yeah,
No.
that's interesting. Oh, do they not
Oh,
either?
They do. I don't.
Wow.
think they do.
Okay.
I play mids. I should know that. No, I
Man.
don't think they do.
I need to keep an
but
eye
they
out on these
have
custom ones.
The adaptive piece, which is like so close to custom, I think that's why they didn't do it.
That's fair. The highly
Nice.
adaptive trait. But yeah, thank you guys all for coming. If you guys have any last thoughts before we wrap this up, anything else?
I mean, I was gonna say the same thing Phil said, so that I'm with you. If you take just one secondary from your faction, I think you could open it up to being a little more, call it balanced. But like I said, I think it is balanced. So I think it's, I'm an optimist. Game's in a great spot.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
That's why we're here talking about it. It's we're all having fun still.
All right. Well, thank you guys all for joining us, or thank you all for joining me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Like,
Have a good one.
subscribe.
Yeah, like, subscribe, comment, all those good things. Share. Okay, have a great one, guys. See you in the next one.